Citizens, what's up? It's President Awall here bringing you daily Star Wars Force Arena content. This one is going to be all about the MTV-7 light vehicle. This is one of the cards that you guys have been requesting a card review for, namely because I think it's a tough decision as to whether you should use this vehicle versus the AT-ST. I've already done a card review on the AT-ST and on Ben Kenobi, which is an amazing counter to the MTV-7 light vehicle. And in the other card review videos, you asked for gameplay. I've got Director Krennic set up, as well as a Death Squad leader unique with a really nice deck here. I will demo the light vehicle and talk about why I'm using it in this particular deck, and show you some best practices with it. Keep in mind that the stats that you see on the screen with this card is level 5, which are significantly higher than you're going to see at level 1. Overall, as Empire, you've got two critical decisions to make. A, are you going to use AT-ST Walker as your main tank and your main way to pressure? Or B, are you going to use MTV-7 light vehicle? Those are your two primary tanking options. There really aren't any other tanking options. I've heard some of you guys mention that technically Probe Droid counts as a tanking option. I agree. A Probe Droid does stop up a lane, and it does hold progress from the enemy, and it does soak up damage, so technically you could say it is a tank, but traditionally, I don't really regard cards like this as a tank. I see it more as a trap. And it's a trap that you set in the middle of low HP units so that it blows up and it kills them. A tank I regard as a unit that is going to push forward, is going to soak up damage, and is going to deal a significant amount of damage to a particular type of target. Maybe Probe Droid fits the bill on that, but I have a hard time seeing it as a tank. Regardless, when you're looking at that decision of AT-ST versus MTV-7 light vehicle, AT-ST has significantly higher HP. It's got a much slower move speed, a decently higher attack range, but of course, the major difference is that it only attacks buildings, and it has a relatively slow attack speed when it attacks buildings, but it only focuses buildings. So AT-ST is great for that guaranteed building pressure, for you to take down that objective, or at least be able to focus on that objective for 7 costs. It's such a high cost card. When we contrast that to MTV-7 light vehicle, lower HP, very fast movement speed at 3.2, one of the fastest moving cards in the game. 8.5 range, big range. That's a really, really nice range. Big attack power at 141 damage per second, and decent attack speed. It's like, okay, attack speed. Overall, MTV-7 light vehicle might be the most well-balanced and most versatile card, if you will, and most overall useful card in the entire Empire set. Personally, I prefer MTV-7 light vehicle the majority of the time over an AT-ST in my decks, but if you're going to use MTV-7 light vehicle, you need to compensate for the fact that you aren't going to necessarily have that building pressuring card. Because this card can attack everything, as opposed to the AT-ST, which can only attack buildings, it means that your light vehicle is going to be able to defend. Your light vehicle is going to be able to take down heroes. Your light vehicle is going to be able to maybe even focus light tanks on the rebel side, etc. It also means that you can quickly approach the enemy base, because this thing cruises. It moves so fast. It's basically an ATV with a minigun. It is very, very versatile for that reason. However, it can be easily distracted if the rebel is able to deploy any number of counters to this light vehicle, which there are numerous counters. Don't worry, guys, I'll bring you gameplay, I promise. I just want to discuss the basics, the meta kind of behind this card, and the counters behind this card. In my other card review, if you missed it, there's a playlist on my channel with it. Ben Kenobi is the hardest of hard counters to light vehicle. He can literally convert your light vehicle to the enemy team and turn it around against you. And if that happens, there's a very high probability you will just flat out lose. You lose 5 energy cost worth of card, a big fat tank that does a ton of damage, that's fast moving, plus the rebels have a Ben Kenobi and a Luke Skywalker bearing down on you. that is guaranteed to take at least half health off of one of your structures unless they completely blow it. Ben Kenobi is the hardest counter to light vehicle, period. But there are also some really other solid counters, like numerous counters to light vehicle, including Polar Bear with the minigun, the Gregorian Rebel, which does preposterous damage per second at 417, can just melt your light vehicle in seconds. Another great counter to light vehicle is Twi'lek Rebels. Deploy them right next to the vehicle. There's so many individual targets. Because light vehicle has a slow attack speed, it'll be relatively slow at taking down each one of these 4 rebels that you can deploy on it. Similar concept with Rebel Troopers, which directly counters the light vehicle. And also Rebel Honor Guards counters light vehicle. Really most things that counter AT-ST are going to counter light vehicle, including the Marauders counter light vehicle as another example. And yeah, just I'd say about half the cards that Rebels have available to them counter light vehicle. So it's easily countered. We can conclude that it's easily countered. However, that's why you build your deck when you have light vehicle, to support that light vehicle. You don't have this, nearly invincible card like an AT-ST that's just going to march up the damn lane no matter what you throw at it and be able to do some amount of damage. Light vehicle needs support cards around it, and that's what I've built with this particular deck, Director Krennic deck, and that includes being able to clear out all of those mobs that are going to kill your light vehicle with a card such as Sand Trooper, with a card such as TIE Fighter to instantly clear out mobs around it, with a card such as Probe Droid to tank right up in front, or at least to soak up damage right up in front of your light vehicle, then explode like a trap and clear the way for your light vehicle so those pesky Twi'leks and Rebel Troopers, etc., Pathfinders even, I didn't even mention Pathfinders as a counter to light vehicle, don't take your light vehicle down instantly. But one of the weaknesses of light vehicle is that it does not only target buildings, and you could call it a weakness if you're having trouble pushing down lanes and you're having trouble actually taking down objectives. It's very strong at defending, but how do you actually take down that turret and really push through if you're up against an enemy who's effectively defending themselves? And I typically like to build my decks with the light vehicle with a complementary rocket stormtrooper. This card allows you to pressure either lane. You can drop in sneaky rocket trooper in one lane, push with your light vehicle in the other, or as your light vehicle is pushing in towards the turret and beginning to tank damage from the turret, deploy a sneaky rocket trooper right behind him who's firing right over the shoulder of your light vehicle and dealing that direct damage to the turret, guaranteed, and all the while all 1800, 1900, depending on what level your light vehicle is, worth of HP is soaking up damage, and your rocket trooper is getting work done for you. So overall, I think this light vehicle is fantastic. And I think that the slight buff that came recently of the 5% health was massive to making this card very viable as an alternative to something like AT-ST Walker. That's the overview here of this card. In my review of this card, I agree with you guys. I agree with the feedback that you provided in the past that I need to show gameplay of me actually playing with the card. So that's exactly what we're going to do right now. And I'll kind of show it in action, show the positioning and where I'm dropping the card, which situations I'm using the card in, etc. This is unedited. I might fail in how I use the card here. I might win. Either way, you can learn from my mistakes, and you can also learn my best practices that I'm telling you as well with this card. I have way more experience with light vehicle than I do AT-ST, and it is a preference of mine. I like to have light vehicle also when I play Dengar, and generally I'm more of a defensive type of player who then likes to counter push, and I'm not the type of player that likes to go pure aggression. I like to always be able to defend and be able to defend as quickly as possible, because I feel that that generates the highest level of winning consistency, or at least draw consistency for me, and reduces those losing streaks. I personally get easily demotivated. I'm up against Turtle Man here. I've gone up against this guy many times, and Here we go. This is actually going to be the most difficult thing to defend against with this light vehicle, is going to be these Luke Skywalker rush decks. And I'm going to have to be very conservative. I'm going to have to be very careful in the way that I play up against this Luke. I don't have a stun grenade, and that's going to be critical to my success in this game, is having no stun grenade. How am I going to handle this? So I'm going to drop sand troopers in this lane, and once these units start rolling in, this is going to be an all-out rush by this Luke Skywalker on my structure, most likely. Let's see what he does. In order to beat Luke decks like this, you have to be conservative with how you're investing your resources. Be very, very conservative with how you're investing your resources. I'm going to drop Death Squad Leader here, and I'm going to shoot Luke. Damn it, he just deflected all that damage back to me. That sucks. But need to be very, very careful with Luke stun grenading me, and I need to be very careful not to get blown up by Polar Bear with a minigun. Looks like there's some pressure in the top lane. I can quickly throw light vehicle up there, which is going to do lots and lots of decent damage here for me. Use my ability to take down the Gonk Droid. Got it. Ooh, that was close. And by deploying light vehicle behind that structure, the light vehicle was able to do enough damage to discourage the Luke from moving in on me there, which I'm very, very proud of, and that's like very deliberate in how I've built my deck. And this Luke is going to continue to try to pressure, and they aren't going to get that pressure. I'm going to drop Sand Trooper right here behind the light vehicle, and Luke will be able to deflect the majority of what they're throwing my direction, and he stunned me, and I just have to continue to play defensive, and that's just my only option right now. And with Luke pressuring that lane once more, this means that I'm going to have to drop down light vehicle here, and light vehicle will give me the supplementary damage that I need to push Luke away. If I had used ATST, I wouldn't have had that supplementary damage in that situation. I'm going to need to now split pressure these lanes, and yeah, he's got the Pathfinders there as a response. And he's waiting for me to make a mistake and for me to get overly aggressive. And, well, maybe that was the mistake. Okay, I figured he was going to move in there and maybe try to kill me or something. Time to drop in Probe Droid in the top lane. He's now pressuring again, and this is the time to drop Bladesman. This is the time to pull out all the stops and to really pressure the opponent. And he's able to capitalize on this in this situation, unfortunately. And let's see if we can get a quick TIE fighter here for that nice pressure. There it is. And by dropping Rocket Trooper in the back lane, there we go. And we picked up the Luke kill. There it is. Yes. If I can just defend and stay alive. And he's going to bum rush my base, I'm sure of it. And we need to drop down light vehicle. We need to drop down everything, every bit of damage. So we stopped him. Yes. As you can see, oh my gosh, that was a perfect example of why you use MTV-7 light vehicle in a game. Because I had that supplementary damage, which if I didn't get that extra shot or two there against that bum-rushing Luke, who was charging in on my turret, I would have lost it, we would have gone into overtime, and it's very possible that at the buzzer, and that 60-second overtime, that Luke Skywalker would have taken my base. I hope that gameplay kind of illustrates what I'm talking about here in this video about light vehicle. Guys, try out light vehicle, give it a shot. Hell, I'll do another gameplay. We'll do one more gameplay with light vehicle so I can show you why I'm using it. Now, it works with this particular deck. I've seen people run in mostly like Darth Vader decks and also Callus decks that have a tanking hero, and they'll run ATST as a result. And that's because those particular legendaries are focused on being aggressive. And if you have an aggressive legendary who can charge in, who can tank damage, who can get aggressive, then use ATST. It's going to be pretty effective for you. If you've got a more defensive legendary, such as this one, such as Dengar, maybe even such as Boba Fett, consider the light vehicle. The light vehicle is going to help complement your defensive and counter push playstyle. I hope that makes sense. Maybe I can illustrate this one more time. Oh god, here we go. Up against these frickin' Lando decks, man. I need to run one of these decks on the channel. You guys suggested that I run these kind of top tier bum rushy decks, and just do a review of those decks. Let me know if that's something that you're interested in seeing. But these Lando decks are just very powerful. They are just so strong, especially with that second wave of push that they bring to the table. It's very, very, very strong. I like to deploy Death Leader right out the gate because if he lives long enough, he can do 2 waves, if you will, of deployment, which is really, really good stuff. And let's see what we can get here. So I'm going to see if I can kind of burst that down, and if my Sand Trooper gets in range, I can kill the Grenadier before it kills my stuff. I did. I got it. And I want to make sure I don't over-invest into this lane. I want to be very, very careful not to over-invest. And what I mean by that is deploying too many units to counter what I'm seeing already. Hopefully Rocket Trooper will be able to take out this tank. It does. And I'm going to drop down Sand Trooper here. And dang it, that Grenadier got me. And this is another reason why the burst damage from Orson Reddick is really awesome, is because you can burst down tanks, and you can take out those really hard to defeat single target. Ooh, no, I don't want to use Death Leader. I'll just use TIE Fighter. Nice, efficient wave clear there. And I'll save Death Leader for another situation. So we've got a slight turret advantage here. The light vehicle was able to get in there and get a little bit of damage done. If I hadn't chosen light vehicle, I might not be able to defend against this kind of deck, and it would be a battle of who can pressure the other person's lane more effectively. And don't get me wrong, that's fun. That can make for a really exciting game. Looks like I'm getting pressure here in the bottom lane. Need to drop the light vehicle, and gonna kill the Grenadier. And notice how much damage this light vehicle is doing. It's really, really healthy amounts of damage. Now I'm going to drop in Stormtrooper here, and his Lando is going to be forced to defend. And what I'll do is drop a little bit of a Sand Trooper here on the back line, burst him down. That's what's up. And we were able to put a little bit of a hurting on that structure. So Probe Droid should delay them and end up killing them, and we're kind of in a stalemate again. But luckily, once again, I still have a strong defensive composition that's going to allow me to hopefully pull this one out in the end. And I'm going to drop down Rocket Trooper here. I'm tanking this damage. I really didn't want to there, but I did. And if I drop down Sand Trooper here on the side, it should be able, if we can get one more shot off. Oh, there's the TIE Fighter. Sand Trooper, get the pick. I was hoping Sand Trooper would get that last minute pick on him. He didn't get the pick on Lando. That's fine. And we're still up and running. This thing's going to run into OT, and it looks like it's going to come down to what happens here in the bottom lane. Death Squad Leader is going to start clogging up this lane really effectively. That's exactly what we want him to do. And I'm just going to defend for now. I'm just going to defend because he's going to resist this push pretty nicely. And what we'll do is throw the light vehicle up here. It can tank, which is great. Rocket Trooper is going to provide that supplementary damage on the back line, which is amazing. And that takes down the tank. Now we have a pretty significant advantage here. So I'm now going to throw in the Bladesman, and now we're kind of going all in on this. I'm going to just straight up try to kill Lando and get the TIE Fighter strike in there. We got him. And hopefully my Rocket Trooper can finish this off in time. And, oh, it didn't finish it. But that's okay. We'll try to save our tower here. Hopefully they can't pressure it down at the last minute. And no, not Rocket Trooper. Come on, let's just save this. I was hoping that Rocket Trooper would be able to get like some last minute pot shots in the game here. And he drops double tank. And at least we were able to defend. So with MTV-7 light vehicle, a lot of the time you are going to get draws because you're going to be able to defend effectively. I will take a draw. You still get 2 victory points for it. And most importantly, you don't lose points. And now that the range of how much you can win or gain goes up to 42, those 42-point losses against like rushing decks are just devastating. An MTV-7 light vehicle helps you kind of prevent those from occurring because of your superior ability to defend. I think I've made the point there. Let me know what you guys think of this card. I give it thumbs up. I don't really have a rating system, so I give this card a thumbs up. I love this card. I prefer it over ATST personally, but that's just because it fits my playstyle. throwing my avatar up on the screen, be sure to subscribe. And thank you to everyone who's enabled notifications on the channel. That's the only way to guarantee you will see my videos. Notification Squad, I love you. And 2 videos over there. Click those and watch them. Thank you for watching, amigos. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.